Well, it wouldn't be an episode of NBA Today without an up-to-the-minute update on all things Brooklyn Nets. So let's bring in our Nets reporter, Nick Friedell. And Nick, you attended Nets shoot-around today, so what's the mood around the team as they prepare to face the Knicks at the Garden tonight?
Malika, they feel really good, which is stunning given the fact that they just lost 11 in a row. But I asked Patty Mills, can you guys still win a title and turn things around? Without hesitation, he looks at me and goes, 100%. I said, why? He said, because we have guys in this locker room who have done it at the highest level. And the feeling is Kevin Durant's coming back in a couple weeks. Ben Simmons is coming back at some point in a couple weeks. Kyrie, potentially with the New York City vax mandate getting pulled back, could be there full time at some point later in the year. But this is a group that has almost had a cleansing now that James Harden is gone. Bruce Brown said it the other night. We had a team bonding experience in Miami. Everybody's on the same page. We were sitting outside the locker room after that game against Sacramento that they won. It sounded like they had just won a playoff game. This team has confidence again, and they have Seth Curry, who has become the focal point of the offense. Malika, he was joking this morning, I'm tired. I'm not used to having everything run through me, but this is a team that thinks it's going to collect itself after the break and start winning a lot of games.
There's Brennan cleansing, bring out the sage. All right, you said the magic names, though. Where is Ben Simmons today, and how is he fitting into the Nets locker room after his arrival in Brooklyn?
He is at shoot-around. He's getting all the defensive schemes in place. And Malika, the early returns from the coaching staff and from his teammates are really good. Thought Patty Mills said something really interesting there. He's known him since Simmons was in elementary school in Australia. He said this guy has a fire to prove to everybody that it can still play at the highest level. And they believe they're bringing him into a community in that Nets locker room that can bring the best out of him. So for all the people that are doubting whether Simmons can return to that level, Mills said not only is he going to be there very soon, he thinks he can get a lot better playing alongside KD and Kyrie.
Well, and listening into that opening press conference, Nick, it surely sounded like he's confident that he can get back out there and get up to playing at the level of basketball he was even before the playoffs last year. Nick Friedell, thank you so much for joining us here on NBA Today. So that is the latest on all things Simmons, but Kyrie, he's back in the spotlight today too. So let's begin by looking at how many games Irving has left in a Nets uniform in the regular season. All right, take a look. 8. He's eligible to play in just 8 of the Nets' final 25 games, since he can't play road games like tonight's against the Knicks or at the Raptors. Remember, they have that mandate up in Canada, as well as Nets home games. So overall, Irving can play just 1 game before March 6th. So earlier today on Get Up, Commissioner Adam Silver, he spoke directly about the vaccine mandate that is preventing Irving from playing those home games. And here's what he had to say.
This law in New York, the oddity of it to me is that it only applies to home players. I mean, I think if ultimately that rule is about protecting people who are in the arena, it just doesn't quite make sense to me that an away player who's unvaccinated can play in Barclays, but the home player can't. So to me, that's a reason they should take a look at that ordinance. I can imagine a scenario where Brooklyn, as part of New York City, with a new mayor now who wasn't in place, Eric Adams, when that original ordinance was put in place, I could see him deciding to change along the way and say it's no longer necessary to have a mandatory vaccination requirement. As I said, particularly one that only affects home players.
All right, so if the season ended today, Kyrie Irving, he wouldn't be able to play in the play-in tournament either because of the matchups the Nets would face. Again, that's if the seeding ended right now. But I want to go back to what Adam Silver is saying, Perk. What's your immediate reaction there?
Well, the first thing is, can we get an amen that Adam Silver is the best commissioner in sports? I mean, one thing about him is that he is fair, and he always speaks the truth about situations. And I know Kyrie has taken a lot of heat for not getting vaccinated, but Kyrie had a point, and so do Adam Silver. He has a point too, like, why are these rules set in place? And it don't make sense. It really don't make sense. And so what we're seeing right now is that we're seeing Adam Silver be the great commissioner that he is and stepping up and saying something, a man of power, to raise eyebrows and raise awareness so that it could put the state of New York on alert and say, hey, we have to go back and do our due diligence and say, you know what? This is not fair. What are we doing? So I love it that Adam Silver is speaking up.
Okay, so there is a hypocrisy there, right? That only home players who are unvaccinated unvaccinated cannot play. It is interesting that that is the sort of delegation there, that's how they're splitting it up. But wouldn't it make more sense to say that nobody who's unvaccinated who can play, not change the rules so that unvaccinated people can play? But this is coming in the wake of us seeing several states across the country lift mask mandates, as we're seeing cases numbers drop, as we're seeing hospitalizations drop. But Ramona, I understand you have some more reporting on this?
Yeah, look, Adam Silver was mostly talking about the hypocrisy between the home and road enforcement of this mandate. He wasn't speaking to any kind of inside information about what New York may or may not do with this vaccine mandate. And I was cautioned by one source who said this is actually a poor context for anything to change in terms of New York's vaccine mandates, because the mayor there, Eric Adams, is dealing with some of the political fallout of having 1,300 city employees be fired for not taking the vaccine. Now, this was 1% of the city workforce. It went through the courts for a long time, but this just happened this week. So the sense that there's anything changing in terms of Kyrie Irving and who can play and who can't play in New York, really poor context and timing for that. I don't anticipate anything that changing soon. Adam was really just pointing out the hypocrisy of the home and road split.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.